Let's continue with some work on our terms of invoice in section 7.3 and 7.4. This invoice has terms of June 30th, that's the date of the invoice. 3/15 means 3% discount for 15 days. And remember that net 60 means that's the net payment due in 60 days. What's different about this question too is as of July 10th. So different than the question we had done previously where it didn't have any extra, we used April 12th as our starting date. On this one, because they give us as of July 10th, we're going to ignore the date on the invoice and start here to count our days. So to get that discount date as the first date that we need to calculate, we're going to start with July 10th and add 15 days. And that gives us the same month, July, and that would be 25. July 25th does appear on a calendar, so that's our last discount day. Remember, up to and including July 25th, you're allowed that 3% discount. That was the date that went here, July 25th. The second date we're being asked to calculate is the net payment due date, when your bill is due. We're going to start again at July 10th, and this says we're going to add 60 days. Keep that month of July. And that gives us July 70th. We know that July 70th does not appear in a calendar. So I'm going to go over here where I have a little space and write July 70th. And with July 70th, we're going to subtract, and we have to figure out how many days are in July. So you can use your knuckle trick, or you can use that poem that we talked about. And July has 31 days. So minus the 31 days of July. And if we're going to take away the days of July, we move to the next month. And the next month after July would be August. So we started out with July 70th. And we said, okay, well, if we take away the 31 days of July, how many days move into the next month? And I get 39. Again, August 39th doesn't appear in a calendar, so we're going to go back to our calendar and find out that there are 31 days in August. Again, I recommend either that poem, 30 Days Has September poem, or you can use the knuckle trick that your book talks about, and I can move and subtract all of the days of August. And so the next month is September. And September 8th does exist in the calendar, so that's where we're going to stop. September 8th is our net payment date. And then we'll work on the next question. Question 3 says, February 8th, 3% discount for 10 days, and we have EOM, end of the month. What EOM means is ignore the date of February 8th, so ignore that invoice date, and use the last day of that month. So in this case, the last day of February would be February 28th. So for February 28th, we're going to add 10 days. And we get February 38th. That doesn't exist. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 28 days of February. And the next month would be March. and that gives me 10 days into the next month, March. That's our last discount date. Okay. For the net payment due date, what you want to look at is you want to look at that net payment due. Notice that in this one, compared to previous ones, they didn't give us an N. When they don't give us an end date, like a net 60, it is assumed, and let me write this down, when a net days are not provided, okay, add 20 days after the last discount date. So because we weren't given any net 60 or net 30, what we're going to do is we're going to take 20 days after the last discount date. Well, if our discount date was March 10th, we're going to start with March 10th and add 20 days. And that gives us March 30th as our last net payment date. Which is this one. So that blue right there is kind of important information because you will have some cases where they don't give you that net number of days. Let's go ahead and try another one. Question 4, same two things that we're calculating, the discount date and the net payment date. This one says July 14th, 2/15 ROG. ROG stands for receipt of goods, and what that means is ignore the invoice date. So again, ignore that one and start counting with the day the goods were received. In this case, that would be September 3rd. We're going to start out with September 3rd, and we have 15 days to earn a 2% discount, so let's add 15 days. And that gives us September 18th. That does exist on a calendar. That's our last discount day. The second amount we're going to find is the net payment date. Again, on this example, we don't have a net number of days given. We're going to go back and use that new information that when a net number of days is not provided, add 20 days from the last discount date. So start with September 18th and add 20 days. That gives us September 38th. September 38th doesn't exist on the calendar. We're going to use that method of subtracting the 30 days in September to see how many days are forwarded to the next month. So the next month is October, and we'd end up at October 8th. Our bill is due by October 8th. Okay. We're going to do 2 more examples for this video. April 12th, 3/15-50X. So this says a 3% discount for 15 days. And this says we have an extra 50 days. Total here, 15 plus 50, we end up with 65 days for a discount. So for us to calculate that first discount day, we're going to start with April 12th. They didn't give us any other reason to not use April 12th. We didn't have a receipt of goods code. We didn't have an end of the month code or an as of date. So we're going to go back and use that April 12th and add 65 days. That gives us April 77th. You probably noticed that April 77th doesn't exist in the calendar. So we're going to start subtracting 1 month at a time to see how many days move into the next month. Use your calendar, okay, or your poem, or your knuckles. April, when I use my knuckles, ends up in a valley, which means there's 30 days in April. And that leads us to the next month after April is May, and that gives us May 47th. May 47th doesn't exist, so we go and repeat the same pattern. Using my knuckles, I find out that there are 31 days in May. And the next month after May is June, and that moves 16 days into June, so that's our last discount date. June 16th. For that net payment date, when we're not given the net information, we just add 20 days after our last discount date. And I get June 36th, which doesn't exist in our calendar. So using my knuckles, I find out that June is in a valley. That means there's 30 days in June. And that gets me to the next month, July, and there would be 6 days into the next month. So July 6th is our net payment due date. Before ending this video, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about end of the month and Proximo. There's one part of end of the month and Proximo that we haven't talked about yet. What that says is if the invoice is dated the 26th or after, okay, with end of the month or Proximo, then you not only get the end of that month, you also get the end of the next month. You start dating at the end of the next month. So let me give you a couple of very specific scenarios. One that we did, similar to one that we did earlier, is what if we started out with something like March 10th, EOM, or Proximo? Where would you start dating? We would not start dating on March 10th. Okay? We would start dating at the end of March, start our counting, start our date counting on the last day of March, the end of March, and I find out that the end of March is March 31st. So that would be the first day that we start counting. A second example is what if we had March 25th with our end of the month or Proximo? Again, March 25th is not the 26th thereafter, so we only get the end of March to start our counting. So start counting on the last day of March, which is March 31st. My third example is what if our invoice was dated March 26th, EOM. So notice that the slight difference between March 25th to March 26th. So what companies have decided is March 26th is so close to the end of the month already that having end of the month as your invoice terms really isn't giving you any bonus, any benefit. So not only do they give you the end of March, because it's only a couple days to the end of March, they are also giving you to the end of the next month. So start counting on the last day of the end of the next month. After March is April. So the end of April, which is April 30th, to start counting. So a very small difference between March 25th to March 26th in invoice dating, but a very big difference on when you start to calculate your discount days. In one case, you'd start to count at the end of March, and in the next case, you start in the counting at the end of April.